This movie is a big budget direct-to-DVD action film. It has all the qualities of a mediocre direct-to-DVD like Steven Seagal film. The ultra simplistic plot and dialogue that is like elementary school level. With the exception of the lead and Ray Stevenson, with the exception of them, the bad acting, the generic villains, the forgettable action scenes, with the exception of one good action scene, and even the title, The Transporter Refueled. That just sounds like a directed-DVD title.
I leaned over to you when we were watching after the title went, and I was like, that is just so unoriginal. You know,
Yeah.
like I can just imagine them. Okay, let's make another transporter movie. What should we call it? Refueled.
Yeah.
That's really lame. Oh no, just
Well, it's because we can't call it Transporter 4 because Statham's not in it. We'll call it Refueled. It's like a reboot. They might as well should just slapped redemption in the title since they want to be as generic as possible.
Refueled.
This
Redemption.
is a really forgettable movie. There's just nothing about it that is creative. There's nothing about it.
It's like a forgettable summer action film that came out in September.
Yeah. Skip it. Just don't. I can't even...
Where do we even begin?
There is nowhere to begin. This movie is obnoxious to sit through. It has obnoxious characters. And it tries so hard to be this, like, sexy, hot film with all these bikini models in it and all these shots of hot girls making out. And it comes off really sleazy and immature and, frankly, kind of misogynistic. This movie has 4 women that are teaming up with the transporter to take on the villains. You could almost compare it to Mad Max, only it does it the exact opposite way. Unlike Mad Max, which is a very feminist film, with a lead female protagonist that teams up with Mad Max who is tough and caring, and you like Charlize Theron in the film, and there's development there. In this movie, the women are just portrayed so one-dimensional, and they're these hot...
So unlikable.
And they're these hot, 10-plus models. And it's like, it's just unbelievable how they screwed up this entire story. The premise is that these women grew up in prostitution. And they've grown up, and now they want to get revenge on the guys, on the pimps that put them there, okay? So you would think with that plot, these women would be very sympathetic. You think like, okay, it's a revenge story. And while this is happening, the transporter gets put into the middle of it. This movie went out of their way to make the women in this film unlikable.
Basically, it took a plot that could so easily make them sympathetic. Like, it would be so easy to make them sympathetic. And it tried so hard to make us hate them.
Yeah.
Like, it had to go out of its way. And it's almost mind-boggling.
It is. They found a way to make these women uncareable. And it's like, even when they get revenge, it's lame. It's basically a heist movie. They just rob the pimps. And then in the end, they just so happen to get killed. Like, it was just so lame. The revenge is lame.
They're getting their revenge and stuff, but then in the end, when they die, you just don't care.
Yeah. There was nothing to care about this film except Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson plays the transporter's dad, and he is awesome.
He's pretty funny.
And that's really about it. The villains in this movie are so generic and so forgettable. I already have forgotten the face of the main villain. Like, I kind of have a part of an image, but I don't even remember who he looked like.
I will by tomorrow.
Yeah. And the action scenes, again, there's one pretty cool action scene where the transporter is doing some hand-to-hand stuff. That was really creative and cool. With the exception of that, the car chases are a poor man's Fast and Furious. The other hand-to-hand scenes are just silly, and it's just boring.
And like you said, like this movie just borrows from so many other movies. And you said, like, I've never seen the other Transporter movies, but you said that it even borrowed its beginning scene from Transporter 2.
The opening of Transporter 2 is him going to his car and a gang of hoodlums try to carjack it and he beats the crap out of them. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. And if that's supposed to be a reference, maybe, still, it comes off as just, come on.
And like we said, the dialogue in this film, it is like, the entire dialogue is just like spoken exposition. I mean, there's no care in put into this dialogue. It's just,
this movie does not have faith in its audience that they will be able to follow the ultra simplistic plot. So it just spoon feeds you the plot in this condescending way. It's just insulting. And the way how they portray women in this film is insulting. Mad Max had a lot of women, not a lot, it had a team of women teaming up with Mad Max, and again, it was feministic, and it was bold, and it was well done. In this movie, they do the same thing, only it's insulting to women. And it's also insulting to men, because I feel like, as you said when we were talking about it, I feel like they're thinking like, this is what guys like. Guys like hot women making out with each other. Guys like hot women in bikinis. It's insulting to both men and women.
And also, like going back to what you just said about, insulting to men, after they do, we probably shouldn't spoil it if you guys
just do it. Spoilers.
Okay, well, basically after these three women lie and manipulate and screw over the transporter, he still sleeps with the main one. And I was just sitting there like, if I was in that situation right now, I would be beating the crap out of her. But it's like, I feel like the movie is like, oh, no, she's hot, so he wants to have sex with her.
These women threatened to kill his dad. Then they told him that they injected him with a lethal virus, and if he doesn't help out, then he'll die. And then...
Because they have the antidote.
Yeah. And then they reveal that they didn't inject him with a lethal virus.
It was just water.
And then she's like, sorry I did all that, and then just makes it up to him by having sex with him.
And he accepts it.
And he does. He's just like, okay.
Like, oh.
And then I thought, it was at that moment that I thought, like, well, they went out of their way to make the women unlikable. Now they're going out of their way to make the transporter unlikable.
Which, I actually, when I saw the trailers, I thought he just looked like a complete tool.
Yeah.
And I thought I wasn't going to like him at all. I actually, for the most part, liked him.
He was a suitable substitute for Jason Statham. I still think, Jason Statham is what carried those transporter movies. And without him, what's the point? He did the best he could with what he had. I think he's a fine actor. I would be totally open to seeing him in more action films. I think
if he had a better script, I think he could do just fine.
Yeah, I think he's playing the villain in Deadpool from what I was reading, so that I'm sure he'll probably be good in that. So, but yeah, this movie, give it a pass. Do not see this.
Skip it.
I can't even recommend most of the other Transporter movies, but I really cannot recommend this.
Just coming off seeing Agent 47 2 weeks ago, and I even thought that was better than this, and that's not saying much.
Okay, I still stand by what I said when we walked out the theater. This movie was technically, I would say, a slightly better made film than Agent 47, but Agent 47 was more enjoyable because of how bad it was. Like, this movie is not so bad it's good. Agent 47 was so bad it was funny. This movie was not funny.
And see, when a movie is bad, but there's nothing so bad about it that it's funny, then what is there to like about it?
Exactly. They could have at least given us some funny villains.
Well, I mean, one of the villains looked like a Russian Daniel Radcliffe.
That's true. He looked funny.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, it's a pass for both of us.
Really quick, can we talk about the villain's death?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and tell them about it.
Okay, well, basically, to wrap it up, he's when he dies, it's like a climactic fight between him and the transporter on the top of this cliff, and he gets shot, and then he falls off, like you see him falling off the cliff, but then it just immediately cuts to like a mannequin of him falling into the ocean.
Like a 3-second wide, distant shot of what is supposed to be his body falling from the cliff and into the water. But it's straight up a mannequin because he's not moving at all. He's like still, and he's just and I'll say this,
which really goes back to it's a high budget direct-to-DVD film.
I had to say this. I would have to go back and watch that again to make sure. If that was not a mannequin, if that was CGI'd, then that's even worse because they couldn't have put in the effort to digitalize his body moving a little bit as he's falling down.
Or like they could have just used a mannequin and saved the money because we couldn't tell either way.
Or they could have just not have the shot at all and just have the last shot be him being shot and then just sliding off. Yeah, that was pretty laughable. Yeah. Whew. Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, we got our first trailer for Star Wars in theater.
Yeah, we've already seen that trailer.
We've seen that trailer.
It's the
many
trailer
times.
that's been out for a while, the second one, but we did get to see it in the theaters for
Which
the
was
first time,
cool.
which was cool, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually haven't seen that trailer since it first premiered. I'm actually trying to see as little footage as possible. I actually don't want to see too much of it.
Oh, really?
Beforehand, I want to go into this knowing as little as possible. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool to see that stuff in the theater. It's an exciting time to wait for a new Star Wars film. It always is. Even when the prequels were coming out, as much as people like to bash the prequels, whenever a teaser came out for the next one, it was always exciting to see that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Transporter Refueled, a big no from both of us. So, thanks for watching.
Screw off.